Welcome to Kat Has Questions, curiosity, stories, and the strange corners of everyday life. Hello, I'm Kat, and happy holidays, friends. Okay, listen, I know this season can be a lot. We've got the decorating and the cookies and the elf doing whatever the elf is supposed to be doing, the family gatherings, the wrapping paper explosions that quietly multiply in your living room like it's its own species. In my family, we have what we lovingly call the Christmas bitch, which is my older sister because she helps my mom with making her Christmas cards, wrapping gifts, little odds and ends. So I hope you all have a Christmas bitch to help you this year as well. But today we're going to pause from all of that for a bit because I wanted to give you a little Christmas bonus episode. Something eerie, something cozy, something that slips right into that strange space where holiday magic and mystery blur together. In today's story, it's not a crime. It's not gore. It's not even really a haunting, not in the traditional sense. This is the story of a woman who got a phone call, the same call, every Christmas Eve at the same minute from a voice that should not have been able to speak to her anymore. So grab some hot chocolate, turn on the tree and sit under a cozy blanket, and let's talk about the Christmas Eve ghost caller. It is Christmas Eve, 1994. A woman named Diane is cleaning up after dinner. Rinsing dishes, picking at leftover ham because calories do not count on Christmas Eve. Her house is warm and quiet. The tree is glowing. The TV is softly playing some holiday movie in the background. It's one of those moments where everything feels calm, like the whole world has paused for just a breath. At exactly 11:59 p.m., her phone rings. She glances at the caller ID, which in 1994 was basically a tiny screen that either told you everything or absolutely nothing at all. So it flashed unknown caller, which wasn't super weird back then. Telemarketing was aggressive, and caller ID was not great back then. But she answers, and what she hears makes the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. It's a voice, soft, familiar, a voice she'd recognize anywhere. It's her mother's voice. But the strange thing, her mother had actually died 2 years earlier. "Merry Christmas, sweetheart," the voice said. And then the line goes dead. So let's talk about Diane. Now, this story is one of those classic, my friend's aunt's neighbor wrote about this on a message board in 2004 type mysteries. Allegedly, okay? I'm going to throw allegedly around a lot in this episode. But the details have remained pretty consistent for decades. Diane was in her 30s, living alone, recently divorced. Her mom had passed away from cancer just 2 years before the first call. And her relationship with her mother was incredibly close. They talked almost every night, sometimes multiple times a day. They had inside jokes, holiday traditions, and little phrases that were just theirs. When her mom died, she said the thing she missed the most wasn't big events. It was the tiny moments, the phone calls, the quick check-ins, the drive safe, call me when you get home kind of stuff. So when she heard her mother's voice, not something like her voice, not someone impersonating her, but her actual voice, she froze, like the world just tilted a little. She said it felt like all the air in the room disappeared. She couldn't speak. She didn't answer. She just listened until the line clicked off. And then she stood there, staring at her phone, thinking, what just happened? The next year, 1995, Christmas Eve rolls around again. Life has moved on a little. Diane is dating again. She's working. She's healing. But as the night creeps closer to midnight, she starts watching the clock. Not because she expects anything, but because, well, if you had gotten a call from your dead mother last Christmas, you'd be watching too, even if you didn't admit it. But exactly at 11:59, the phone rings. Same caller ID, unknown. Same exact minute, same tone, same staticky 90s landline sound. She answers, and again, it's her mother's voice. This time, the voice says something slightly different though. Something like, I'm always with you. And then it disconnects. At this point, Diane is like, okay, what in the Hallmark movie meets The Sixth Sense is going on right now? Was it grief? A prank? A phone glitch? Something else? She tells no one about any of this, not yet, because she's terrified someone will tell her she's imagining it, or worse, that she is losing it. So she keeps this to herself. On year 3, she breaks. The call comes in again, Christmas Eve, same minute, same voice. But this time, her mother uses a nickname that literally no one ever used for her. One of those childhood pet names that should have died with her mother. And that was the moment Diane thought, this is either something supernatural or someone is really, really dedicated to messing with me. So she tells her sister. And her sister's immediate reaction is, call the phone company, which honestly, same. So they do. Now this is where the story gets even weirder. And not in like a ghostly way, in a very technical way. The phone company, supposedly Pacific Bell, but some retellings say AT&T investigates. Both of those are obviously, well, AT&T is obviously a big one, but so is Pacific Bell, a big phone company. These were the days of the big beige computers and people typing with 2 fingers. And they tell her there is no record of any incoming calls at that time. Like nothing. No incoming number, no routing data, no trace. They basically say, yeah, we can't explain this. The system shows your phone didn't even ring. Which is the kind of line that takes this from maybe a prank to something about this is wrong. The tech on the phone literally tells her, ma'am, based on our system's logs, that call didn't happen. Meanwhile, Diane is like, sir, I would love if this call didn't happen, but it did, and it keeps happening year after year after year. So let's talk theories, because the internet, especially early internet, loves a mystery with a phone line. Some people believe these calls were a form of hypnagogic hallucination. I didn't know what that was, but it means a half-asleep experience. Except Diane was fully awake, and multiple years in a row, the exact same minute, seems unlikely that it would happen like that every single year. The second theory is a dedicated, long-time prankster, but this would require someone who knew her mother's exact voice, her mother's unique phrases, that specific childhood nickname that her mother used for her, and could recreate that voice consistently for over a decade without ever slipping up, and knew exactly where she was every Christmas Eve for 10 plus years and gained nothing from it. So also seems a little unlikely. The third theory is a phone system glitch or like a residual recording. This one's actually kind of fascinating. Old analog systems could sometimes store fragments of audio without meaning to, especially if 2 people disconnected or the phone died or switched providers around the same time. Some people believed her mother's last messages to her somehow got trapped in the system and replayed annually when holiday calls volume spiked. Except the timing was too perfect, and analog recordings degrade quickly. They wouldn't sound identical year after year. And also it sounds like it was a different message every time, so it's not like it was just like the same phrase over and over each year. The fourth theory is a crisis call. So this is a paranormal theory. A crisis call is a phenomenon reported globally where deceased loved ones reach out during moments of emotional significance, usually once, occasionally twice, almost never for over a decade. This is the theory people lean toward because the timing lines up with Christmas, one of their shared traditional holidays, the exact minute they used to talk each night, and the specific phrases that carried emotional meaning. It felt personal, intentional, definitely not random. So one of the more haunting details, the calls stopped abruptly in 2006. No change in phone provider, no move, nothing different about what she was doing. The only thing that changed that year was the death of her father. Some people say maybe the connection was tied to both parents, or maybe one parent's passing allowed the other to, quote, move on, or maybe the emotional weight shifted enough to stop the phenomenon. I was kind of thinking, like, could the dad have somehow, like, recorded the mom's voice and sending it to her? But I don't know. That's just me spitballing. Diane described that year as the quietest Christmas Eve of my life. She said she waited by the phone until almost 1 a.m., just in case, but nothing came. After over a decade of these strange calls, they were just gone. In the last known interview she allegedly gave online, Diane said, "I don't know what those calls were. I just know that they helped me. They kept her close. They made Christmas feel less empty." She said she never felt scared, never felt watched, never felt pranked. She just felt comforted and a little confused. Honestly, same. She said that if it was a glitch, she's grateful for it. And if it wasn't, then she got one last holiday tradition with her mother. She said, "It was the one gift I couldn't explain but never wanted to question." Okay, so here's the thing. Do I think a phone company from the 90s would just lie to get somebody off the phone? Yes, absolutely, immediately. But do I think someone could recreate a dead mother's voice perfectly with no cracks in the performance for over 10 years with no motive, no slip-ups, no benefit, and perfect timing? No, I don't really see that either. Do I think grief is weird and powerful and sometimes plays tricks on our senses? Sure. But every single year, at the same exact minute, that feels very intentional. So my personal theory, this was something emotional, something liminal, something between the physical and the unexplainable. Not scary, not threatening, just a thin space. Or her dad did it. One night a year where something reached through, and I think that's kind of beautiful. So whether you believe this was a glitch, a ghost, or a mother's love finding one last pathway home, it's a good reminder that this season is messy and magical and emotional for a lot of people. And sometimes mystery is a little softer around the holidays. Thank you for being here with me, and thank you for listening. And most importantly, thanks for supporting this little show of mine. It truly means more than you could ever know. But I will be back again this Wednesday and next week with your regularly scheduled programming. Until then, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and stay curious. Thanks for listening to Kat Has Questions. If you liked this episode, follow the show and share it with someone who loves a good spiral. See you next week.